Welcome to episode 2, number 2 dose of Uncovering Beauty. My name is Lock-Osborne, and I'm here to share some beauty fun with you. I don't know what that means, but that's what I'm doing. I'm a licensed cosmetologist that loves finding the beauty in everything that we do. And guess what I did? I went and did some intensive research on wigs. So welcome to my podcast, and sit tight. Pop some popcorn kernels and maybe pour you a glass of wine or water. Stay hydrated. I'm just gonna dive right on in to the origin and background of wigs. In beauty school, we learned that they were made from like human hair, wool, synthetic fibers, and all that good stuff. We didn't really go into grand detail. I plainly remember learning that wigs were used in the 1800s. It was like the 1700s actually. But it was like a common thing apparently that people did not wash their hair very often. I guess they just didn't have access to bathing. If you were a king or a queen, you probably bathed maybe once or twice a week. I don't know, maybe once a month. I wasn't there, guys. I don't know. But what I do know, or rumor has it, that when their hair started to not smell the best, they would prop a nice handy dandy wig on their head to conceal the stench. Talk about cover up. They would adjust the height, the length of these filth covers is what I'm going to call them. Because these people would just cover their heads with them and their head was stinky. So ill. That kind of reminds me, I've heard that back in those days as well, when women would walk down the aisles, like that whole thing of the bouquet of flowers from a wedding, they would use those to cover or camouflage the horrendous smell that was coming from their bosom. And they're wearing all these corsets. They're wearing all this undergarment clothing. It's gonna get sweaty. Sweaty bosoms and a dress. That's just not a good combination. You want to find out if that's actually true? You can go and research that on your own free time. If you watched my last video about heels, you heard about Louis XIV. Apparently that guy had taste. He loved a good heel, apparently red bottoms, and he wore wigs. I'm gonna pop it right here. Bam. This guy employed over 48 wig makers. Imagine having 48 people working for you just to make your hair. And it is said that no one has ever seen him without his wig except his barber. You know what? I felt that. Other people saw him wearing these wigs, right? And they were like, you know what? That might not be a bad idea. Everybody started wearing wigs. Usually kings, queens, and everybody who was higher up, they wore wigs. And that showcased that they were prestigious. Like his father before him, apparently his dad had thinning hair and he was only in his 30s. And he was like, yeah, my hair is gone, so I'm gonna need a wig. Gets even better. I don't know if this is much necessarily better, but in ancient Rome, wigs were also quite popular, especially among the upper class. Roman women often wore wigs to enhance their appearance and follow the latest fashion trends. These wigs were typically made from human hair, often imported from other regions, including India and Germany. Roman men, particularly those who were balding, also wore wigs to cover up hair loss and to maintain a youthful appearance. Wigs were not just a fashion statement then, but again, a symbol of status and wealth. They allowed individuals to showcase their affluence and adherence to contemporary styles. I was just not having that word right then. The styles of Roman wigs varied widely, from simple short wigs to elaborate curly ones. Some wigs even imitated the hairstyles of famous figures like the Empress or other notable women of the time. There's a popular myth that Romans wore the hair of their enemies as wigs, but there's no solid historical evidence to support this claim. Instead, Romans typically imported their hair from other regions and used it to make wigs. The hair often came from places like India and Germany and was chosen for its quality and texture. Although it would make for an interesting story, it is more likely that wigs were made from hair acquired through trade other than their fallen foes. Bruh. That would be super intense. And I'm not gonna lie, I would not be surprised. Yeah, I would not be surprised. Overall, wigs played a significant role in Roman society, much like they did in ancient Egypt. Yeah, I feel like they were kind of like on another level. But apparently they invented this beauty piece. They used it like a hat to protect their heads from the sun when, they were out and about. And it was like a symbol of rank as well. The pharaohs and the queens wore them, and it would also represent hygiene. If you have a wig and your hair stinks, just throw a wig on. Bruh. Because they thought that was hygienic, I guess. It also would represent vanity. I see a lot of TikToks and stuff. When those laces are laid, those girls be pretty vain. I honestly can't blame them. And I can understand the vanity that you're feeling when your lace is laid. Children universally had shaven heads with or without outside lock of youth. A single plait worn to the side of the head. A range of hair accessories have been found in burials, including combs, hairpins, mirrors, and hairpieces. And the inclusion of these items amongst tomb goods indicate how important hair and hairstyling was to the ancient Egyptians, both in this life and the next. Egyptian wig history is quite fascinating. In ancient Egypt, wigs were commonly worn by both men and women. They served practical purposes, providing a solution to head lice. Wigs also were a significant fashion statement and a symbol of social status. The materials used for wigs varied based on the wearer's wealth. The wealthy could afford wigs made from human hair, while others used wool or vegetable fibers. Wigs were often styled elaborately and adorned with beads, gold, and other decorative elements. They also played a role in religious and ceremonial practices, with priests and priestess often wearing specific styles of wigs during rituals. If you've ever seen DreamWorks, The Prince of Egypt, it kind of showcased how they wore wigs a tad bit. Fast forward to today. Wigs are still very popular, and sometimes they are so realistic that you can barely tell that it's a hairpiece. And they are still very pricey, high demand, and a profession that is still very much alive. Modern wigs come from a variety of sources. Here are some of the primary ones. Human hair. I don't know if you can, you can't tell the difference from a picture, so I'm just gonna The highest quality wigs are often made from human hair. This hair is usually sourced from countries like India, China, and Brazil, where people donate and sell their hair. These wigs can look very natural and can be styled like your natural hair, which is crazy because we can walk around with someone else's donated hair that we bought online or at the store. But selling breast milk or gifting it to another mama in need is a taboo. Maybe that's a topic for another day. Synthetic fibers. Many modern wigs are made from synthetic materials like acrylic, nylon, and polyester. These wigs are generally more affordable than human hair wigs and come pre-styled, pre-colored, and they might not look as natural and can't be usually styled with heat tools or chemicals. Animal hair. Some wigs, especially those used in theatrical settings, are made from animal hair, such as yak or horsehair. These are less common for everyday use, but it can be very effective for specific purposes. Blended wigs. So some wigs combined human hair and synthetic fibers to offer a balance between natural appearance and affordability. Modern wig making techniques have advanced significantly, allowing for a wide range of styles, colors, and textures to suit different needs and preferences. Who knows where your wig hair actually comes from? If somebody donated their hair and passed on, you wouldn't know. If somebody just cut their hair off and donated for extra cash to feed their kids, you wouldn't know. So honestly, just enjoy the wig. Most human hair used for wigs is sourced from living donors who sell and donate their hair. The hair before it's sold to you is usually cleansed, processed, and then made into a wig. And you always have the option to do a clarifying shampoo on it too before you decide to wear it. That's what I do. Well. That's all I've got. And you haven't moved your cursor over to the subscribe button yet. But guess what? That's annoying. If you would like, anything with fashion, beauty, style, life, subscribe. Because that's what we're here for. We're just here to have fun and to find the beauty in things. Thanks for watching. Bye. I always wondered, what's the big idea behind fur coats anyway? Tune in next week and we'll figure it out together.
We got so beautiful. Rich before what's beautiful.